The Pharaoh of Egypt trembled with fear. He had a vision of being overthrown by the Bani Israel, children of Israel, whom he viewed as worthless. Immediately, he summoned his priests, ministers, and magicians. He told them of a horrifying vision of fire emanating from Jerusalem, burning down the houses of Egyptians and Copts, leaving the children of Israel untouched. After carefully considering the symbolism of the vision, the party inferred that an extraordinary boy would be born among the Israelites, and ultimately, his rise would bring about the end of their oppression. Thus, a command was given to slay all male children born to the Israelites. There was no moral dilemma that the Pharaoh underwent in issuing this verdict, as he had always oppressed the people of Israel, the descendants of the prophet Jacob. The Israelites only served as slaves to the Pharaoh and the Egyptians, and they were forced into labor for little or no pay. They were treated as lowly citizens who had no rights. The Egyptians worshipped the Pharaoh and carried out all his demands without question. They worshipped the gods that he endorsed. Challenging him on any issue would be as good as signing your death warrant. The people feared the Pharaoh, and although they may not have believed in polytheism, they followed the path of their king without protest. With all male babies born to the Israelis being killed, the Pharaoh was left with a new problem. His sages warned, "The elders of the Israelis die, and the young are slaughtered. This will lead to their annihilation. As a result, you will lose the manpower of those who work for you." The sages then suggested to the Pharaoh a cyclical policy for regulating the slaughter. In the first year, all male children would be slaughtered, while in the following year, they would be spared, continuing so on and so forth. The Pharaoh, finding this solution more economical, readily enacted the plan. In the year that Bani Israel's camp was to undergo a slaughter of their baby boys, a woman, having just given birth to a son, was gripped with terror. Her old son Harun had narrowly escaped this fate, born in a year when boys were spared. Allah, the Almighty, inspired her. "Nurse him, and then, when you fear for his safety, put him in the river. Do not be afraid, and do not grieve, for we shall return him to you, and make him a messenger." Reassuring herself with the Lord's promise, the mother nursed her son in secret. She named him Moses, or Moses. When the cries of baby Moses were sure to draw suspicion of Pharaoh's army, the mother decided it was time to do as Allah said and part with her baby. With a heavy heart, she fashioned a basket. She nursed Moses one last time, placed him in the basket, and stealthily traveled to the shores of the Nile River. She grieved for the safety of her son, but she knew that Allah would protect him. She then watched as the current swept the baby into the distance down the river. When the basket touched the water of the river Nile, Allah commanded the waves to be gentle. As instructed, the water became calm and rocked the basket forward, soothing baby Moses. Moses' mother, like all mothers, worried for his safety. She instructed her daughter to follow the riverbank for as long as possible, and then report her findings back to her. Moses' sister followed the course of the basket. To her great horror, the basket came to rest at the riverbank outside the Pharaoh's palace. One of the servants at the palace noticed the strange basket lying on the shore. They peeked in out of curiosity, only to find a baby within. They rushed to the palace with the basket to report to the Pharaoh and the queen about the mysterious baby in the basket. Asiya, the Pharaoh's wife, felt an inexplicable love for the little soul who appeared outside her palace. She was aware of her inability to bear a child of her own, though she had longed for a baby boy. Perhaps this was Allah's gift to her. The moment she lifted the baby from the basket, she kissed him. The news of the baby quickly circulated throughout the palace. When the news got to the Pharaoh, he had a different reaction. He figured it was likely a final attempt by an Israeli woman to save her child from his decree. Unmoved and without remorse, he coldly ordered that this baby share the same fate as the other boys. Asiya turned to her husband and requested, "This baby is a source of joy for me and you." Pharaoh watched on as his wife held the baby tenderly, weeping with joy while hugging and kissing him. He had never witnessed her so happy. She pleaded, "Do not kill him. Perhaps he may be useful to us, or we may adopt him as a son." Swayed by her plea, the Pharaoh relented, making an exception to spare the child's life. There was rumbling in the royal palace. Many wet nurses lined up while the baby wailed in hunger that none could satiate. Moses' sister, who followed the baby along the banks of the river Nile, watched on with amazement at the strange turn of events. Out of concern for the baby and the distressed queen, she spoke up. "Shall I direct you to a family who will bring him up for you and take good care of him?" Back home, Moses' mother was worried for her baby. She contemplated marching to wherever Moses was and informing them that the baby was hers. However, Allah Almighty kept reassuring her to have just a little more patience. Right then, her daughter barged in and excitedly narrated to her the miracle of Moses' survival at the royal household and the queen's wish to raise him as a prince. She also informed her that the queen required her services as Moses' wet nurse. Immediately, she rushed to the palace. Moses' mother recognized this was the reassurance that Allah had given her. As the baby was held to her breast, he immediately began suckling. The Pharaoh, who was also present, was astonished. He asked, "Who are you? This child has refused to take any other breast but yours." With strength from her lord, she replied, "I am a woman of sweet milk and sweet smell, and no child refuses me." The Pharaoh was satisfied with her response and appointed her as the baby's wet nurse. As Allah promised, Moses' mother was reunited with her baby. She continued to nurse Moses at the palace, and when he was weaned, she was granted the privilege of visiting him. She watched in secrecy as he was raised in the palace as the Prince of Egypt. As Moses grew up, Allah bestowed upon him strength, sound knowledge, and wisdom required of a messenger. These attributes kept his mind active and curious. He used to question many of the Egyptians' beliefs, like how they could worship multiple gods. His independent thinking, combined with a deep sense of justice, led him to champion the weak and oppressed secretly. This was despite the lifestyle afforded by his royal upbringing in the same household as the Pharaoh. As Moses grew up, Allah bestowed upon him strength, sound knowledge, and wisdom required of a messenger. These attributes kept his mind active and curious. He used to question many of the Egyptians' beliefs, like how they could worship multiple gods. His independent thinking, combined with a deep sense of justice, led him to champion the weak and oppressed secretly. This was despite the lifestyle afforded by his royal upbringing in the same household as the Pharaoh. One day, while Moses was wandering through the city, he witnessed two men in a brawl. The one being beaten up was an Israelite, and the oppressor was the Egyptian. Upon spotting Moses, the Israelite cried out to him for help. With no one else in sight, Moses rushed to intervene. He could no longer bear to witness the ongoing oppression of his people and do nothing. So, in an attempt to free the Israelites from the Egyptians' hold, Moses struck the man with a single strike, and the Egyptian's body fell lifeless because of the force of that blow. Moses then cried out, even though he responded in defense of the man, and he could rationalize how the Egyptians were committing many atrocities on the Israelites. This was not what he intended. His heart was consumed with remorse. It was purely by accident, so he beseeched Allah for his forgiveness. "My Lord, indeed, I have wronged myself, so forgive me." So Allah forgave him, for he is indeed the all-forgiving, most merciful. Moses then pledged to the Almighty, "My Lord, because of the favor that you have done me, I shall never support those who do evil." He would no longer stand by idle seeing such evil and corruption spread on earth. The next day, when Moses was once again walking through the city, he witnessed the same Israelite involved in another brawl. Moses approached the Israelites, saying, "Indeed, you are an evident, persistent deviator." For he witnessed the same man getting into a second fight with yet another person. Fearing that Moses might strike him, the Israelite cried, revealing the secret. "O Moses, do you intend to kill me as you killed a man yesterday? You only want to be a tyrant in the land. You do not intend to make peace." The remark did not go unnoticed by the Egyptians. Shortly thereafter, another man approached Moses with a sense of urgency, warning him that Pharaoh's army was pursuing him. The man spoke, "O Moses, indeed the eminent ones are conferring over you, intending to kill you, so leave the city." Their intentions were clear. They were not seeking to arrest him or provide a fair trial. Instead, the rumors spread that they were determined to impose a death sentence on him. With unwavering faith and trust in Allah Almighty's plan, he said, "Perhaps my Lord will guide me to the sound way." And he then, worn out after traveling for 8 days, his stomach sunken in with lack of food, and the soles of his feet injured after walking barefoot in the hot desert, Moses eventually reached a watering hole bordering the country of Midian. Feeling safe from the pursuit of his enemies, Moses decided to rest underneath a tree by a spring where shepherds were watering their herd of cattle. He also noticed 2 women preventing their sheep from mixing with those of the others. He asked the women, "What's the problem?" They replied, "We cannot water our animals until the other shepherds are done." They also shared with Moses that their father was too old and sick to tend to this task himself. Forgetting his thirst, Moses said, "I will water the sheep for you." The shepherds in the area were known to place a large, heavy stone over the spring's mouth to try and make it less accessible. This was part of the reason why the girls had to wait so as not to mix too closely with the men already there. It is reported that the stone was so heavy that it would take 10 men together to move it. Moses approached the rock and, without any hesitation, lifted and removed it from the spring's mouth, the veins of his neck and hands protruding as he did. He then watered the herd of sheep for the 2 women, put the rock back in place, and then retreated to the shade of the tree. He had no money, no clothes, nowhere to stay, or a job to sustain himself. He then prayed to Allah beneath the tree in Midian. "My Lord, I am truly in desperate need of whatever provision you may have in store for me." The 2 women returned home much earlier than their father anticipated. Worried, he asked his daughters if everything was okay. They told their father what happened, and he asked one of them to go back to the watering hole and invite the man over to meet him. Upon returning to the watering hole, the woman found Moses still resting beneath the tree. She said, "My father invites you that he may reward you for your having watered our flocks for us." Moses welcomed the invitation and accompanied the woman to her home. He was warmly greeted by the host, who was a kind and God-fearing person. Moses revealed to the old man the incidents that transpired in his motherland that led him to escape in haste. The man responded, "Fear you not. You have escaped from the people who are cruel, polytheists, disbelievers, and wrongdoers." Moses' humility and gentleness in behavior were clear to the hosts who invited him to stay with them. He found safety and peace in their house. A few more days had passed by, and they grew more and more comfortable and trusting of one another. The family was also in need of a shepherd. They required someone strong and reliable, someone like Moses. So, one of the daughters suggested to their father, "Father, employ this man in your service. The best whom you might employ is he who is strong and trustworthy." The father inquired of his daughter about her impressions of Moses, particularly what made her trust him. She explained, "When I invited him to our home, he respectfully requested to walk ahead so as not to compromise my modesty." Understanding and appreciative of Moses' respectfulness, her father saw in him not only honesty, but also a strong work ethic. For him, these qualities were the most crucial in judging a man's character. He then approached Moses and asked, "I want to marry one of these 2 daughters of mine to you if you serve me for 8 years. But if you complete 10 years, that will be of your own accord, but not an obligation. I do not intend to treat you harshly. If Allah wills, you will find me an upright man." The offer suited Moses well. He responded, "So that is agreed between you and me. Whichever of the two terms I fulfill, I trust that I shall not be wronged. Allah is a witness over the covenant we are committing ourselves to." He married one of the shepherd's daughters and found a new beginning in Midian, far removed from his previous life. The turn of events is a testament to how, when one puts their complete trust in Allah, He rewards them from unexpected places. The prophets always fulfill their commitments and have a habit of giving more than what is due. So, after he fulfilled the promised 8 years, he stayed for the additional 2. The period of 10 years that Moses lived away from his family was the most crucial in his journey toward prophethood. He observed Allah's creations with wonder. He pondered about the skies and stars, how the sun rose and set each day, and how seeds turned into trees. After 10 years in Midian, a deep homesickness began to stir in Moses' heart. Fully aware of the dangers involved in returning to Egypt, he nevertheless felt a strong pull to visit home. The reasons behind his desire to return remained a mystery. Was it the yearning to reunite with his biological family, or was it the longing to see Asya, his adoptive mother, who had showered him with maternal love? Regardless of his motivations, Moses reached a firm decision, telling his wife, "Tomorrow we shall leave for Egypt." She was concerned for their safety, for she knew that the Pharaoh was a tyrant, and her husband had departed Egypt with trouble at his heels. Still, she obeyed her husband and prepared for the journey ahead. As Moses and his family traveled through the desert, they lost their way. While resting near Mount Tur, Moses noticed a glow of a fire. Feeling hopeful, he told his family, "Wait, I have seen a fire. Perhaps I may bring to you from there some information, or a burning firebrand that you may warm yourselves." As he neared the fire, he heard a strange voice. "O Moses, verily I am Allah, the Lord of all creatures of the universe." Taken aback, Moses looked around, but found no one. The voice called again, "And what is in your right hand, O Moses?" Shaking, Moses replied, "This is my staff on which I lean, and with which I beat down branches for my sheep, and for which I find other uses." The voice instructed, "Now throw down your staff." Moses did as commanded, and the staff instantly transformed into a serpent. Afraid, he ran away, taking cover to protect himself from the snake. But the voice called out once again, "O Moses, draw near and fear not. Verily, you are of those who are secure." Allah then instructed him to grab hold of the serpent, and it would return to its former state. Moses followed the command and grabbed the snake, which miraculously reverted to its original form. He was finally reassured that it was indeed Allah. His fear was replaced by a sense of peace and calm. He was, after all, in the presence of Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Allah then commanded his prophet to put his hand through the opening of his collar. Moses did as Allah instructed, and when he pulled out his arm, he found it shining bright white. Allah then directed him to proceed on his journey to confront Pharaoh and his chiefs, saying, "These are 2 proofs from your Lord to Pharaoh and his chiefs. They have truly been rebellious people." Moses appealed, "My Lord, I have killed 1 person from among them, and I fear that they will kill me." Moses trusted Allah. He did not deny what was asked of him. However, he was insecure in his ability as he still had a speech impediment. He felt as though his brother would be better suited to deliver the message. "My brother Harun is more eloquent in speech than I, so send him with me as a helper to confirm my truthfulness, for I fear that they will reject me as a liar." Allah replied, "We will certainly strengthen you through your brother, and will invest both of you with such power that they shall not be able to hurt you. With the help of our signs, the 2 of you and your followers will prevail." Moses understood that when Allah chooses a messenger, it's because he knows better and has given them all that is necessary to fulfill his message. Feeling the weight of his responsibility, he offered one final prayer before embarking on this journey to confront the Pharaoh. He prayed to Allah Almighty, "O my Lord, open for me my chest, grant me self-confidence, contentment, and boldness, and ease my task for me, and make loose the knot, the defect from my tongue, that they understand my speech. And appoint for me a helper from my family, Harun, my brother. Increase my strength with him, and let him share my task of conveying Allah's message and prophethood, that we may glorify you much, and remember you much verily. You are of us, ever a well-seer." Allah responded, "We will assist you with your brother, and grant you both authority, so they cannot harm you. With our signs, you and those who follow you will certainly prevail." Allah also told them, "So go to him and say, 'Behold, both of us are the messengers of your Lord. Let the children of Israel go with us, and do not chastise them. We have come to you with a sign from your Lord, and peace shall be for him who follows the true guidance. It has been revealed to us that chastisement awaits those who called the lie to the truth and turned away from it." So the brothers, Prophet Moses and Prophet Harun, obtained an audience with the Pharaoh. "What do you want?" the Pharaoh asked Moses. He replied, "The Lord of the universe has sent us that you let the children of Israel go with us." Pharaoh protested, "Did we not raise you among us as a child, and you stayed several years of your life in our care? And then you committed that crime of yours. You were so ungrateful." The threat in Pharaoh's statement did not go unnoticed by Moses, but he replied, "I did it then, lacking guidance. So I fled from you when I feared you. Then my Lord granted me wisdom and made me one of the messengers. How can that be a favor, of which you remind me, when it was only because you have enslaved the children of Israel?" he asked. "And who is this Lord of the universe?" Moses replied, "The Lord of the heavens and the earth and of all that is between them, if you were only to believe." Pharaoh scoffed. How could a child he raised as his dare question his power? Turning to his chiefs and everyone gathered, he asked, "Do you hear what he says?" Moses ignored his remark and continued, "He is your Lord and the Lord of your forefathers." Pharaoh said mockingly to those around him, "This messenger of yours, who has been sent to you, is simply mad." Moses added, "He is the Lord of the east and the west, and all between them, if you only had any understanding." The Pharaoh had had enough. He couldn't listen to Moses challenging his authority anymore. "If you take any god other than me, I will certainly make you one of those who are rotting in prison," he bellowed. Moses responded, "Even if I bring you clear proof?" Pharaoh challenged, "Then bring it if you are truthful at all." As Allah had shown him, Moses threw down his staff, which turned into a giant snake, leaving all those present terrified. He then drew his hand out of his collar, and it shone white for all to see. Despite the clear, undeniable proofs, the Pharaoh's mind refused to accept the existence of a power greater than his own. He was stubborn in the face of the truth. He could bring himself to admit the possibility of being wrong before his people. So, in a desperate attempt to undermine Moses, he turned to his chiefs and said, "Surely this man is a skilled magician, who wants to drive you out of your land by his magic. Tell us, what do you advise us?" The chiefs proposed that the brothers be detained while the most skilled magicians in the area were gathered. They explained that if the magicians could reproduce the magic trick that Moses had performed, it would take away all his credibility and influence. People from all over the land gathered in the city to witness the contest.